Annyeonghaseyo. Hi everyone, this is Ariel, one half of Soju for Two, and I wanted to make a video for you guys about what it's like being a foreigner in Korea as a teacher. And I want to preface this by saying, like, this is entirely my own perspective. You know, I may mention a few things that have happened to my friends or things like that, but honestly, this is just one person's evaluation, and I feel like my situation may or may not be unique, but I really don't know because it's just my opinion. So I could do a lot more research, but so far this is just what I've experienced. So the first thing I want to talk about is appearance. So this is something I think a lot of people, when they come to a country that seems so racially homogenous, and most part it really is racially homogenous, they want to, like, how you feel like that. So for me, honestly, it's completely not off-putting at all. I'm really comfortable here. I'd say in my experiences so far here, the only time when I'm looked at a lot, it's always in a really positive way or a complimentary way. So I haven't had negative experiences with that. But I know that's something that, I have a few friends that have had negative experiences, people like staring at them, making them uncomfortable, things like that. But my experiences so far have been very, very positive with appearance. And I think that's, it's interesting because, I've had a lot of people, I've had this discussion with even coworkers just sort of about, like, the ideals of beauty here and how, for better or worse, I sort of fit a lot of those molds. And not that I fit necessarily a Western idea of beauty at all, but here being very fair is desirable. Big eyes, the double eyelid. These are all things that are really, really popular. Or, and like the highbrow nose is really, really, the high nose is really like a big deal. And my kids will say it to me all the time, how pretty my nose is. They'll like touch my eyes and like, oh, your eyes are so pretty. Or like they always ask me if I'm wearing contacts, and I am wearing contacts, but not colored contacts. And that's like mind-blowing for my kids. They touch my skin all the time, and I don't know, so it's interesting. My experience with physical appearance has been very positive, and I think for a lot of people that could be difficult. And there's a very, like, one way that looks really pretty, that's like desirable, and I don't know, I think for better or worse, that's just the ideal right now. Now, like, fashion-wise, I do tend to dress, in the Korean style of fashion. But what's cool about Korean fashion is there's lots of different options. You can either go sort of like a tomboy, sort of giant clothes, or you could go for really, really girly. And I like both of those. So it's a great fashion culture for me as well, because I really love fashion. So it's pretty, again, I fit the mold a lot of times for what Korean, like, standards of fashion and beauty are right now, which is just sort of lucky for me, I guess. Okay, the next one, being a foreigner, dating culture. Okay, so I've gone on a few dates with Koreans since I've been here, and I've had some good experiences, some like less good experiences, but I think it's a matter of right now, like, sort of dating for me has been, I think I tend to date a lot of people that want to learn English. So there's like that little bit of a misconception if they want to date me or if they want to just learn English. So that's a bit hard. It's definitely something that I sort of have to get used to, figuring out, like, the guys that actually want to be in a relationship versus the guys that just want to learn English. And that's, like, going to be something that I sort of have to traverse, and I think it's something that it's a challenge I'm up for sure, because I do plan on dating mostly Korean guys while I'm here. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted about that. But yeah, dating, and it's also interesting because I meet a lot of guys. When I first got here, we were meeting people at, like, clubs and stuff, which is not a good place to meet people. But now I'm starting to do language exchanges and things like that. And I think I'll meet more sort of the, type of, person I want to date at a place like a language exchange or bookstores, things like that. It's definitely better than clubbing, guys. Okay, the next one. So here's some what not to do's and some what you should do. So I guess I'll start with the what you should do, because I think these are things that people should know when you come here beforehand, and just be polite about them. Okay, so number one is bowing. I think this is interesting because for me, I have no problem with bowing in general. I think some foreigners I've spoken with find it really, really degrading to bow. And I'm not really sure, where that's coming from. That sort of sense of, feeling like you're being targeted when you're bowing, like it's a bad thing. I know why you do it. It's this is coming out of the whole Joseon Confucius society where there's a hierarchy, so that's why you bow to people. But in my mind, it's a politeness thing. And when I've just met someone, I don't know them very well, I feel like it's very polite, and I really like this idea of bowing. And it's not just because they're superior to me, it's because I want to show them respect. They could be the same age, I still bow to them. Some of my other co-teachers, some of the teachers in my school are younger than me. I always bow to them even though they're younger than me, and I think it's just a respect thing. So for me, it's not a humiliating thing to bow at all. It's entirely just showing my respect to people that I really, really like and admire. So definitely bow. They're basically with Koreans, most of the time you only have to do a head bow, But if it's your principal, you do a full bow. And I do that every single time. So I'm just going to the bathroom, I full bow when I see my principal or my vice principals. It seems awkward at first and you feel weird doing it, doing a bow that deep. But now, it's his habit, and even if he doesn't speak a lot of English to me, he knows that I'm at least being, polite and respectful, and that may come handy if I want to renew my contract. And also, just like the head bow, that's what's common. When I see a teacher, I'm like, 안녕하세요. Even if you just see them for 1 second in the hallway, I just say that. And it's basically the same thing as seeing someone at work just saying, hello, how are you? And it's exactly the same thing, except you just bow your head every time. And everyone does it. It becomes very, very natural, very, very much of a habit. The second one, 2 hands. So whatever you do, if you grab money, if you grab papers, use 2 hands all the time. If you're shaking hands, use 2 hands. If you can't reach something, then touch here or here. You just always want to have 2 hands when you're doing anything, and it doesn't have to just be 2 hands. You can just be touching somewhere, but you should always do that. It's more respectful. Pouring drinks, getting money, papers, I don't know, basically anything. Just try to always have 2 hands because it's more respectful. The next one, eat the food. Okay, this is something that's interesting for me because I know a lot of foreigners that don't really like Korean food. The best way to make friends with Koreans is to eat. 100%. I was a pescatarian for years, and I really only ate certain fish and vegetables for such a long time. But I knew that coming here that was not going to work because most soups, and basically soup is with every single meal, have some sort of beef, chicken, fish broth, basically everything. It's really difficult to find vegetarian food here. There are options, but very few. So you could basically be eating kimbap all the time if you don't want to eat, make your own, and that's if you don't want to eat fish or meat or anything. But it is difficult to be a vegetarian. But I think eating here and eating with Koreans is the best way to become friends. And it's such a communal experience that everything you do is always about sharing food. So you really, really need to embrace the food here. And if you don't know what it is, just eat it. It's probably good. If the people around you are eating it, just eat it. I would not ask questions a lot because... Sorry, I'm losing my voice, guys. If everyone around you is eating it, it's probably not bad. And if you don't like it once you've tried it, then you don't have to eat it again. But it's really always good to just say that. Now, I don't drink, and I get sick when I drink, so I just never drink. And I have had no problems whatsoever here with that. Almost all the female co-teachers in my school do not drink. And then, if literally I just said once, I don't drink, and no problem. No one has ever bothered me about it. So while drinking culture is a huge part of Korea, you can have an amazing time and not drink. So I gone out with my co-teachers multiple times. I go out with my friends, my foreign friends, all the time, and I never drink, and I can still have a great time. So don't let that be something that's a deterrent for you if you're coming here. The next thing is, yes, take your shoes off. Okay, so I know a lot of foreigners that don't take their shoes off, and this is a really, really, it's a small thing. Definitely, if you're going into a Korean's house, you have to take your shoes off. But it's a cultural thing that, like, my mom growing up always made us take our shoes off. Mostly because my brothers were total slobs and their shoes were covered in mud all the time. But it's also just like something she always, I mean, I don't know, she's Southern and she always has these things like wearing your shoes in the house will bring the devil in, or things like that. I don't know, she just says things like that. So a lot of, Korean culture, again, a lot of people live in one room and you don't want to have your shoes on the same, floor that you, like, where you get out of the shower and things like that. And my room's so small, basically I shower in my room. It's so tiny. So I understand why they do it. So just really take your shoes off as soon as you go in places. And a lot of restaurants you will have to take off your shoes. So think about that. It's just always something that's a possibility. Okay, so then things that you should not do, guys. You should not do. Okay, so number 1 is talking on the subway loudly. So, of course, you can talk on the subway. You'll see Koreans doing it all the time. And you can talk on your phone on the subway because you have reception down there, which is amazing. Because in New York, you don't. But if you talk loudly, everyone will look at you. And also, if you eat on the subway, that's a really big no-no. Now, I know it's much bigger in Japan than it is here. Yeah, in Japan, I don't think you're even allowed to, think about eating on the subway or public places at all, the street, things like that. But Korea, you can eat on the street for sure, but it's not on the subway. It's just frowned upon. I mean, you can do it, but people will just look at you funny. Also, don't sit in the reserved seats. They're like for pregnant women, for elderly, for the handicapped. Never, ever, ever sit in those seats. You'll just be looked at like horribly, and like maybe you have a reason to sit there. Like I totally understand that, but if you don't have a reason to sit there, then you should definitely not do it. And always just get up for older people. I mean, I can have like 5-inch heels on, and I still get up for older people, and there's like 6 guys sitting next to me that don't get up, and that always annoys me. So you guys should definitely get up if you see someone older, and that's just like a common courtesy thing. It's same in New York. So yeah. And then the next one, oh yeah, so chopsticks in your rice. Do not ever stick your chopsticks into the rice bowl. Koreans don't lift the rice bowl when they eat rice, which is definitely, I think a lot of Chinese people do lift the rice bowl. And most of the time, Koreans don't eat rice with chopsticks. They eat it with a spoon. Now, of course, they do, like when they're eating lunch or something, they'll pick up rice with chopsticks and, as well. But for the most part, don't ever, stick your chopsticks into rice, because it's something that you do when you prepare a table for the dead, ancestor worship. So you're sort of like wishing death upon someone, so just don't do it. The next one, oh yeah, with drinking culture, even though I don't drink, I can tell you about drinking culture. Always accept with 2 hands. Always pour for the person older than you. And if you're around someone that's older than you or someone you respect, you should turn to the side when you drink. It's very important because they're all like, drinking culture is such a big part of Korea that you have to be careful with little things like that. So I think that's it for now. It's a lot of stuff, guys. But I just wanted to share with you some big things. And remember, this is just my experience, so I don't want any nasty comments about how that's not what happened to you, because this is just what happened to me. Okay, bye, guys.